And Mickey is still with us. There you are, my dear. All right. Mickey Kersgard, this mic is all yours, my friend.
You're muted.
You are muted. Unmute yourself.
Son of a gun. You have to do that, don't you? Thank you so much, Deb and Lori and Sharon and Zulma, for a fabulous morning. This was awesome. I feel like I've been to Egypt as well, which is very cool. And here we are on Thankful Thursday again. Um, and I am so very thankful for everyone in this group and for the stuff that we do and how informal we are, like Lynn was just talking about. We're not going for glitzy snazzy perfection here, although the videos that Zulma was just showing were very snazzy perfection. Kudos to the woman who made those. And if you have a chance, go back and check out Zulma's video from earlier today. Uh, okay, so let's get centered for a second. If anybody else wants to do the truly thankful prayer for me, that would be awesome. Or if not, I will do it myself. I don't see anybody jumping up to do it, so I will go ahead and say, I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent Him, the Christ who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because He who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever He wishes, knowing He goes there with me, and I will be healed as I let Him teach me to heal. And I have faith. I have faith that I will be healed. And I want to start out. I finally wrote down, so at the end of the Ken Wapnick videos recently, Prudence managed to extract this one woman's comment. And I've been trying to figure out how to write them down. I've been listening every morning. We're going to get to the end. I'm going to write these down. I'm going to get these because they're so awesome. She was checking in with Ken on 3 key points that she thought of during his lectures. And they go, the goal of the course is to forgive ourselves for not wanting peace. We have gratitude that we're wrong and the course is right. And we have faith that what the course teaches is right and we'll eventually get through this. And I have faith that I will be healed as I let Him teach me to heal. So we've been going through this prayer. This is the 5th week. I'm absolutely amazed, you guys, that I thought, oh, okay, this was going to be, when Karen asked me at first to sub for her, I thought, oh, okay, well, we'll go over the truly helpful prayer and we'll talk about what each one of those things meant. And I thought it was just going to be that one session. And it has turned out that we have spent the whole hour and a half every time going through one line alone of each of these. So we're at the final line, and I trust that we're going to, finish this up 5 weeks in. But I have faith that Spirit is going to help me understand this course. I have faith that my mind is going to be healed. I'm thinking in this lifetime. I really hope so. But I just have faith that the one mind, the one mind that we all are, is going to be healed, and that we're eventually going to realize we are one in God. Um, I'll tell you a little story before we get into the all the notes that I took on this healing thing. I got a new phone the other day. I got myself a Christmas present, got a new phone, and I, because I can't figure out how to set these things up myself, I went to the T-Mobile store to get the techie guys to help me out with this. And I went in and we started talking, and they do this pairing thing with your old phone and your new phone so that they can talk to each other and transfer all the data over. And that takes a while. So we got to talking. And the one guy was telling me about how he went to, you know, an equestrian college to learn how to be an equestrian and a farrier. And this is this enormous African American guy. He said, I was the only Black guy at this school. And I was like, wow, you are so awesome. And you're living your dream. And except he's like, my husband and I are going to buy this farm up, a little ways north of here out in the country. And he's telling me his stories about the farm and their relationship. And I'm like, wow, this guy just totally opened up to me. I was shocked. And the other guy is telling me about how he's going to school for cybersecurity, and we're talking about the future of the country and all of this stuff and sharing, like really deep stuff with each other. I'm like, if this ain't a holy instant, I don't know what is. And suddenly comes out of my mouth like three sentences, because we were, all a little concerned about where, what's going to happen in the country with politics and all the differences that people have with each other. And somehow I came out with three sentences about physics and everything being one, and us all being one mind, and how ego wants us to remain separate, and therefore it creates chaos so that we can have conflict. And they got everything about it. They were like, that makes complete sense. I don't know how it happened. Spirit took over and just transmitted this whole concept to the point where we're like best friends now. I'm in that little shopping center to go to a couple of grocery stores almost weekly. I'm like, I'm going to stop in and check on you guys so we can all make sure we're all okay, and left best friends. And I got out of there. I was so high that I thought this was the most healing moment I have ever had with two strangers who I've never met before. It it was amazing. I was so high at that moment that I almost got in a car accident. I couldn't figure out how to drive anymore. It was phenomenal. And I felt like a huge healing had happened in the whole mind, not just my mind, in the whole mind, because the joining was so profound that we had. So yeah, I've got faith in this healing stuff. So, whew, amazing. Life is just crazy. So I thought I would read a couple of quotes that I pulled out on this I will be healed clearly, as I let him teach me to heal. And that's what happened. I was healed because he taught me how to heal the one mind at that point. He taught me how to connect with these two young men in a way that transcended any differences that we might have had. You know, here's this one guy that looks like a linebacker football player, and I'm this tiny little old lady. And we were joined like so profoundly. And yeah. Anyway, I'm going to read a quote from chapter 2, section 4 in the course, Healing as a Release from Fear. Our emphasis now is now on healing. The miracle is the means, the atonement is the principle, and healing is the result. So that story I just told you, the miracle was the means, the miracle of those words coming out of my mouth. And I mean, there are some people I talk to who've been reading the course forever that would not have gotten the meaning of what I was saying, because I couched it in terms that had nothing to do with the course, nothing to do with Jesus, nothing to do with Holy Spirit. I was talking physics, basically. So the miracle was the means, the atonement, healing, realizing that we're all one, that there are no differences, that we're all the same. The atonement was the principle in that interaction, and healing was the result. I think we all got healed. They had such smiles on their faces when I left, and I was so filled with joy that I know that a universal healing had taken place. So the course goes on to say, to speak of a miracle of healing is to combine two orders of reality inappropriately. Healing is not a miracle. The atonement, or the final miracle, is a remedy, and any type of healing is a result. So we realized how we weren't separate. That was the first thing that we started talking about, was the way scientists are now finding out that we're not separate, that nothing in the universe is separate, that all the atoms are the same. So the atonement that we figured out just then, that there is no separation, was the remedy, and healing was the result. The kind of error to which atonement is applied is irrelevant. So it didn't matter what we were talking about. It didn't matter at all. We just had to realize that there was no separation. All healing is essentially the release from fear. And in that moment, we were so comforted. We didn't think about, was there conflict in the world? Would there be wars? Would there be, battles? Would everything go okay for this country? We were released from fear because we took such comfort in the exchange we were having, that we were released from fear in that moment. We started out the conversation all being concerned about what was going to go on in this country. And we were totally released from those concerns and those fears. To undertake this, you cannot be fearful yourself. So I didn't think about, are these guys going to get what I'm saying? And I'm really talking about the course, and should I bring in any kind of, Jesus or spirit or anything? I didn't think about any of that. I just wanted to be one with my brothers. You do not understand healing because of your own fear, and I let go of fear. So I understood healing in that moment. You gotta love this stuff. So the next thing I found in the course, hang on, I've got a cramp in my foot. Okay. The next thing is from the next section in chapter 2, the function of the miracle worker. So it's chapter 2, section 5. The function of the miracle worker says, the healer who relies on his own readiness is endangering his understanding. So yeah, if we think about, am I ready to do this? Like when Karen first asked me to sub for her, if I had thought about, am I ready to, like go on a camera on YouTube that other people can look at, I would have been endangering my own understanding, because I did not think I was ready for any of this. And I still don't, but I am willing. I have great willingness. The course goes on to say, you are perfectly safe as long as you are completely unconcerned about your readiness. Okay. But maintain a consistent trust in mind. Thank you. I have trust and I have willingness. And that's all I need to be able to do anything. If your miracle working inclinations are not functioning properly, it is always because fear has intruded on your right-mindedness and has turned it upside down. So, yeah, whether or not stuff comes out right, whether or not I think I can talk about this stuff, whether or not any of this is landing for anybody else, or if I have concerns, it's because fear intruded on my right-mindedness. Because if I just let go and let God and let spirit, when I was talking to those two young men, spirit took over. I have absolutely no idea what I said, but it was right. It clearly was right. All forms of not right-mindedness are the result of refusal to accept the atonement for yourself. If you do not accept it, you are in a position to recognize that those who need healing are simply those who have not realized that right-mindedness is healing. So hang on, my phone is telling me that I have to go to gather. I'm already here. Shush, phone. Right-mindedness is healing. So if I allow spirit to come through and stop listening to ego, that is healing. So I sent out a little video clip this morning to a few friends that was this guy, Mo Gadot. I think that's how you say his name. Zoma, I think he's from Egypt. Um, and it was all about not listening to ego mind. If we're right minded, we are healing. And this guy, he's an entrepreneur, he's a businessman. He was a CEO something, CFO, CEO, C something O at Google. And now he's off doing his own stuff. He's written some books. A lot of it has to do with happiness. Um, and he was talking about he calls his mind, he calls his brain, I'll use the right word. He calls his brain Becky. And he tells Becky to shut up every once in a while. And he had this thing, I wrote it down. If it's not useful, if the thought that's coming into his brain is not useful or joyful, he tells Becky, the brain, to shut up. Ooh, Lynn says she could play the video. Lynn, let's watch the video. Are we sure that's legal and okay and all that?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm
Yay!
just waiting for it to come up on my my thing here where you sent it to me.
Oh, goody.
Taking a moment. But yeah, no, this is a this is something that's fine to play.
Okay, it's
Um,
3.5 minutes, so I we've got plenty of time to listen to it, and he's a lot more entertaining than he
uh,
did a great job. Oh, and I have to preface this with while you're setting it up, Lynn, I've seen another video of his where he talked about the passing of his son. His son died at the age of 21 from complications from when he was having an appendectomy. And so he lost his son, and that's what sent him off onto this journey. And I would call it a spiritual journey. I don't think he calls it that. He's just looking for peace and joy in his life, which is a spiritual journey, basically. Um, so I think I've set it up okay if you're ready.
yeah, I'm just still getting it, trying to get it to come up. I do want to say also that similar things to what this guy says. This is how we raised our children, and my kids will tell you um, some of this exact same stuff that this guy is saying because they learned really early on to be uh, aware of their thinking and how they were using their minds. So this guy is, let me see if I can get it. Come on. Open, open. There we go. It's opening. It's gonna open.
Yay! You guys are going to love this. I also emailed it to myself, Lynn. If you can't get it to open, I could see if I can figure
I
it
got
out.
it here.
You got it? Okay.
Yeah. All right. So let me entertain you. Let me share my screen. It is, this is moving really slowly this morning. Maybe it's just tired of after Christmas or something. All right, share the screen. There we go. Share the sound. All right, unmute that.
There
And
you go. Now your screen share is coming up.
all right.
I call my brain Becky because it's a third party. It's not me. You have to
Oh, we can
understand
only hear the
one of the
sound. We
biggest
can't see it.
challenges in the modern world.
Okay. All
Oh,
right.
but I don't
That the
think we
person
have
that
to
has
see it.
not. If it was you talking to you, why would it need to
Why
talk?
is
There
it not
was
showing
study
up?
actually in MIT in 2007. They put people in MRI machines, they give them word puzzles, and they measure the activity in their brain. And the problems.
All right, I'm going to try this again.
solving areas of the brain.
All right. Can you see it now?
No,
All right.
let me try mine. Let's see. Copy, because my computer's pretty zippy. Copy, paste.
I'd love a copy of
Load.
that. I'd love a copy of that. Zuma talking.
Oh, sure. Sound. Okay, if I can go back to Zoom and then screen share. Lynn, if you unshare, I can share mine.
Okay. Can't even, well, it should let you share. It's going to ask you, do you want me to unshare me? And you can say yes.
Yes, I will do that then, and I'll share sound, and I'll share my screen, and I'll make this bigger, and then I'll push play.
You have to understand this. One of the biggest challenges in the modern world is that we think that the voice in your head talking to you is you. It's not. If it was you talking to you, why would it need to talk? There was a study actually in MIT in 2007. They put people in MRI machines, they give them word puzzles, and they measure the activity in their brain. And the problem-solving areas of the brain would light up as long as it is needed to solve the problem. And then when the answer is found, listen to this. The verbal association area of the brain, the same area I'm using to talk to you right now, starts to light up for up to 8 seconds, and then the participant would know the answer. Your brain finds the answer, and then it's freaking talking to you. It turns the answer into words so that you understand it. Your brain is a biological function. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, I go to the bathroom, therefore I am. It's another biological function, but for some reason we say, I think, therefore I am. That brain, I have a deal with it. Becky signed an agreement. And the agreement is this. There are only 2 types of thoughts allowed in my brain. My brain is allowed a useful thought if it's going to hurt me, or a joyful thought. One of the struggles of losing a child is that your ego as a father attacks you very heavily because your ego is to protect him. So my ego started to attack me severely, like viciously, telling me you should have driven him to another hospital. So the 4 hours after Ali left, the only thought in my head was you should have driven him to another hospital. Constantly, until I told my brain openly, I heard you. I can't go back in time and drive him to another hospital. Can you give me something I can do? A useful thought. A useful thought. Until Aya came and said, hey, he had that dream. And then I had the idea of writing his model and so on and so forth. So that's a useful thought. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to write what he taught me, I'm going to share it with the world. It's a useful thought. The other part of the agreement, so I said 2 thoughts. One is useful and the other is a joyful thought. No lying. Look at me, beard, bald, manly, right? I cry once or twice a week. There is a specific pain right here, bottom right side of my heart, that I always feel when I miss him. Every time I feel that pain, my brain is telling me Ali died. Very painful thought. When I think Ali died, I think of what happened. I think how unfair. I think of the last moment where I hugged him in the intensive care table and so on. And I learned very quickly to say, yeah, brain, you told me that around 16,700 times before, but Ali also lived. By the way, we didn't plan for Ali. We didn't plan for Ali. I was given 21 and a half years of absolute bliss, a blessing that I didn't ask for. As a matter of fact, if I had been asked, I would have told my wife, let's delay a little bit. Then shows up this beautiful angel in my life for 21 and a half years that makes me the person that I am. And my brain chooses to say Ali died. No brain. Ali absolutely lived. We played video games together. We laughed together. We hugged. He taught me things. We had an amazing, amazing journey. And that's what I choose to remember. A joyful thought. If it's not going to be useful, don't hurt me. That's the agreement with Becky. And believe it or not, every single one of us has that choice. Every single one of us is able to stand firm with your Becky and say, that's it. That's it. Don't destroy my life. This is stupid. Don't waste my life. Either give me something I can do or give me something I can think about with joy.
That was great, Miki. Thanks. You're muted.
Darn it. I did it again. Let's see. Oh, look, there it is. I put the link in the chat box. And anybody who listens to this later on and wants me to send them a copy of it, just contact me whichever way you can, and I'll send it out. I think that's beautiful. He's talking about the course right there, basically, that we do not have to believe anything we think. We can tell Becky the brain, nope, not now, not ever even. Sharon's got her hand up. Go ahead, Sharon.
I just love this. I thought this was so amazing. You see, when it starts getting out there, not just in spiritual circles, you know what I'm saying? He's bringing it mainstream. To me, I mean, I'm going to have Cliff listen, because sometimes, like when my husband went to a Dietrich Warsack's retreat with me about 10 years ago, and he saw that he said to Dietrich, I saw myself from the ceiling looking at Cliff. And then it just erased from his mind, and he had no interest in finding out anymore. And I'm like, wait a minute, you just saw that you're not informed. But the bottom line is, if you know, because we forget because our thoughts come in and we go unconscious again. But just imagine, like, if everyone would listen to that one thing that you just said. I mean, he's saying basically you don't even have to grieve, because the grieving, well, we do grieve because it's not wrong or right, but it doesn't matter, because grieving actually does feel good because you're getting rid of the impurities, but you don't have to suffer. That's the whole point. You will have pain in your life, but you don't have to suffer. So thanks for sharing that. I love it. I think
Thank you.
I love hearing you. I mean, I can listen. I do. That's just, I told you.
Oh, you muted yourself, but that's okay. We don't need to hear.
I told you that all along, that I just think you're great at this. Anyway, that's all.
Anyway, yeah, I just try and get out of my own way. Anyway, Sharon, that was great, because you pointed out the one really important thing for me this week, which is you don't have to grieve. I don't know if I've told you guys, my cat, my beloved boy, is basically in hospice at this point in my house. And I've been pre-grieving. Instead of thinking about the 10 or more years since I've been his owner, I'm his third owner. Instead of thinking about that all this time, I've been thinking about, oh my God, I'm going to miss him so much when he goes. Well, you know, Mo just told us that that's not a joyful or a useful thought. And I should be thinking about all the time that we've spent together, from when he first came here and hid under my bed for months. He would come out only to eat. He was so not socialized. For the first 2 years, he finally got adjusted to me, but for the first 2 years that he lived here, my friends would say, you don't have a cat. There's no proof. We haven't seen this cat. He would not come out. He now comes down to visit with people. If he's upstairs and somebody comes in the house, he comes down. Who's here? You know, he's become such a loving, affectionate, yummy cat that, you know, I should just be relishing the time that I got to spend with him, and the blossoming that has gone on in his life as a cat, from being a feral barn cat for the first 6 years of his life. He's become just this wonderful emissary of joy to so many people. The kids in the neighborhood love him. I love him. All my friends love him. he's just beautiful. And instead of thinking about what I'm going to feel like when he's not in that furry little body anymore, I should be thinking about the joyful times we've had together, and how much I should be healing this. So, yep, I will be healed. And he just taught me to heal. He just, out of Mogadot's mouth, if that's how you say his name, I don't know, came the healing for me in that. And Lynn wrote, pre-grieving, what a waste of time and energy. Yeah, I've been pre-grieving. That's a load of nonsense. I'm Becky. Becky, that's not a useful or a joyful thought. So you can just take a back seat. So, yeah. So let's move on to the next quote that I've got. And it's from chapter 3, section 2, Miracles as True Perception. The way to correct distortions is to withdraw your faith in them and invest only in what is true. So, yeah, what is true is not pre-grieving. What is true is not those unhelpful, unuseful, unjoyous thoughts. So withdraw your faith in them and invest only in what is true. What is true is God is. God is, and we are all part. Oh, there goes Brucey now. We are all part of God, and that's all that is. And why would I think about anything else? You cannot make untruth true. We can't die. Bruce is not going to die. His body might, but that's not him. You cannot make an untruth true. If you are willing to accept what is true in everything you perceive, you let it be true for you. Truth overcomes all error, and those who live in error and emptiness can never find lasting solace. If you perceive truly, you are canceling out misperceptions in yourself and others simultaneously. Because you see them as they are, you offer them your acceptance of their truth so they can accept it for themselves. This is the healing that the miracle induces. So if the truth is true and nothing else is true. If I can accept that, if I can remember it, that'll overcome all error. Those who live in error and emptiness can never find lasting solace. If I'm going to live in the error that anything can die, anything of spirit, anything of God, anything that is true, if I live in that error, I'm never going to find solace. I'm never going to find joy. Because you see them as they are, you offer them your acceptance of their truth. So if I'm seeing Bruce as he is, I offer him acceptance of his truth so that he can accept it for himself. Well, cats, they know this stuff. Animals know this stuff. We don't have to worry about them. He's perfectly fine. He doesn't even think he's sick. He thinks, does he want to eat? Does he want to sleep? And where's the nearest patch of sunlight that he can lay down in? And if he's got that, he's happy and he's content. You know, I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. Bruce knows that he's content if he can find that sunshine. He's content. What else does he need? You know? So I wrote down a couple of things this morning that Dove said because I thought they were so cool. And I don't even remember what he said in reference to, but he said, it is always here, right now. And it doesn't matter what he was talking about. Anything is right here, right now. And if I'm pre-grieving, you know, I'm not right here, right now. And nothing is okay. And he said, this course is about letting go of worry and fear. And that's true. That is the whole course. You know, let go of worry and fear, and you're healed. And Lori wrote in the chat, Lori, do you want to talk about this instead of me just reading your chat? Or do you want me to go ahead and
Oh,
read it?
that's okay. No, I don't need to.
Okay, I'll read it. In the past, I would have disagreed with Mogada, but totally today I agree. I think if the body needs to cry and release energy, that's different than feeling thoughts of loss. He's right that stopping stories of loss avoids unhelpful grieving. I have grieved my whole life and I don't choose that anymore. Grief, death, loss was my special idol. Yeah, I think that that's true for most of us. You know, until we can heal our minds, until we let ourselves be healed and therefore teach to heal. Grief, death, and loss are almost everybody's special idol. And we have to let go of that. We have to you know, give it over. Let go of the belief in loss and death. They're not what we're about. We can't lose anything. We don't die. Others don't die. So there's an entire chapter 5, devoted to healing and wholeness, and I thought I would just read a little out of the introduction. To heal is to make happy. I have told you to think how many opportunities you have had to gladden yourself and how many you have refused. You know, that's the first time I ever read that stopped me in my tracks. It really took me aback. You know, that to think how many opportunities we have to gladden ourselves and we turned away in order to worship some idol of grief, death, or loss. You know, and that happens every day. You know, we think of those things as, you know, only when somebody passes or we lose something really important. But we have loss of peace every day. We have loss, you know, every minute that we think that, oh, I wish I'd done that thing differently, or I wish I'd said something differently. That's loss, that's grief. Every little thing that is not helpful or joyful, like Mo was talking about in that video, anything that isn't helpful or joyful is lack and loss and fear and grief. and worry, you know, those are those opportunities where we've refused to gladden ourselves with something like, oh my, you know, all those years I've had with this beautiful cat that I think I'm going to lose. This is the same as telling you that you have refused to heal yourself. The light that belongs to you is the light of joy. Radiance is not associated with sorrow. Joy calls forth an integrated willingness to share it, and promotes the mind's natural impulse to respond as one. Those who attempt to heal without being wholly joyous themselves call forth different kinds of responses at the same time, and thus deprive others of the joy of responding wholeheartedly. Those who attempt to heal without being wholly joyous themselves we'll get back to that in a minute. I see Zulma's hand up. I want to hear what Zulma has to say.
So for me, it's important for me to remember that I lose nothing. The Course teaches that we have everything, we are everything. And if everything is everything, because everything is God, the truth is that we lose nothing. And this is the words that I use for my own, to remember, you know, that the fact that my mother or, you know, my friends or my family are not physically on the planet does not mean that I lost them. I don't have the same kind of relationship that I had with them. But trust me when I tell you that, using the best example, last year, at the beginning of the year, when I looked at my friend's photo and said, so when are we going to Egypt? And that Sunday, days later, in that same week, they made the announcement that we were going to Egypt that same week. Or, you know, in 2015, and my mother passed in 2008, in 2015, when I stood in the middle of the floor having one of those suffering moments, and I said, Mommy, help me. And days later, I get a letter addressed to my mother, to her, because she lived with me. I lose nothing. We lose nothing. We lose nothing. The situations change. We see it differently, but we lose absolutely nothing. Telling myself that I'm losing something causes me pain. So it's important for me to talk to myself in a way, to, you know, if I'm going to talk to myself, to tell myself, as you just said, what's going to be beneficial, what's going to be helpful, what's going to be uplifting. And I don't deny myself the pain that comes with whatever. In number 26 of the manual, the fourth paragraph, it says, you know, we don't despair because of limitations. You know, our job is to escape from them, but not be without them. So that's key. That's really key. We have to allow ourselves, and I think it was Lori that said it, that we have to let ourselves feel what we feel. But recognizing what it is that we're telling ourselves when we're feeling what we're feeling. And that's enough for me. I'm complete.
Or maybe I'd turn over to, oh boy, I got lots of notes on this. Okay, I'm going to read that, Zulma, because that's really good. Do not despair then because of limitations. It is your function to escape from them, but not to be without them. If you would be heard by those who suffer, you must speak their language. If you would be a savior, you must understand what needs to be escaped. Salvation is not theoretical. Behold the problem, ask for the answer, and then accept it when it comes. Nor will its coming be long delayed. All the help you can accept will be provided, and not one need you have will not be met. Let us not then be too concerned with goals for which you are not ready. God takes you where you are and welcomes you. That's one of Sharon's favorites. Meet them where they are. God takes you where you are and welcomes you. What more could you desire when this is all you need? And I have a note here. I don't know if this, I think this is from a Ken lecture. Your function is to escape the burden of your specialness and judgment of your limitations. So our healing is just to look at our limitations, see them, ask God to meet us where we are, ask Holy Spirit to show us a way out of where we are, and therefore escape our limitations. And that's healing. That's healing. All we have to do is admit to God. We have to admit. We were talking yesterday. I went to my first 12-step meeting. Dove invited me to, he said, Maureen Muldoon is having a thing for people who aren't with friends and family, and if they want to join in. And I thought it was just going to be a meeting, but it was their normal 12-step meeting. And so I learned a little bit about the 12 steps and giving everything over to God. You know, I hadn't read those, the description of the steps and how we should hand everything over. It's very much like the Course. I was very intrigued by it, and I decided that you know how in the 12-step meetings, you say, hi, my name is so and so, and I'm whatever you are, you know, alcoholic or addict, or you know. And I said, hi, my name is Miki, and I am addicted to the ego. And because I don't consider myself addicted to any substances, but we're all addicted to the ego. We're all listening to Becky the Brain. We're all, you know, and we have to every day hand that over to God and say, I've been conditioned to be addicted to the ego, and can you help me with this? I'm going to hand this over to you and ask to be healed from it. And so now I guess I'm a 12-stepper. I'm not sure if I qualify. I'm not sure if people would accept that as valid for meetings, but it's okay in here. I'm okay with it. I think I'm on paragraph 2 here in the introduction to healing and wholeness. I'm not sure. So if I reread something, somebody let me know. To be wholehearted, you must be happy. If fear and love cannot coexist, and if it is impossible to be wholly fearful and remain alive, the only possible whole state is that of love. Now that's fascinating. You know, fear and love cannot coexist. We've learned this in the Course. If they can't coexist, And I don't think it is possible to be wholly fearful and remain alive. I think if we let fear overcome us, I think there are some documented instances of somebody dying from fright. I think if fear totally took over, if we believed what ego was telling us wholly and completely, I think we would die of fright. I don't think we could live. They might call it heart attacks or something like that. I think it's just dying from fear. So if we can't be wholly fearful and remain alive, the only possible whole state is that of love. So I'm just confused. I think I can believe some of these fearful thoughts or these thoughts of loss or these thoughts of lack. I can't. The only possible whole state is that of love. There is no difference between love and joy. Therefore, the only possible whole state is the wholly joyous. To heal or to make joyous is therefore the same as to integrate and to make one. That is why it makes no difference to what part or by what part of the sonship the healing is offered. Every part benefits and benefits equally. So that joining with those two young men in the phone store healed the whole sonship. For a moment, when my heart burst open with joy, that was unbounded joy. I got to experience when I left that place. Like I said, I was so joyful that I felt like I dropped acid. I could barely drive my car. I almost had an accident. That is how out of my body I felt. I was wholly joyous. And in that one instant, the entire sonship for a second felt that joy. I'm sure of it. It was that profound and that powerful. It was transformative. And, I'm surprised I didn't completely wake up in that instant, because that's how deep in my heart it felt. And yeah. So every part benefits and benefits equally. So every part of the sonship benefited in that moment. I'm sure of it. And it was a wholly joyous moment. I wanted to adopt both of those boys in that moment. They were so sweet and so nice. And we also got each other so much. You are being blessed by every beneficent thought of any of your brothers anywhere. So, yeah, the blessing that went out was so huge. You should want to bless them in return out of gratitude. And I do. If any, we should think about moments like that. And I'm sure we've all had them. I'm sure we've all had those moments where we had a connection with somebody, especially strangers. I love it when it's strangers. We've all had those moments when we had a joining with a brother that was so profound, and we know people. There are 8 billion of us here. Do you not think that there's someone in this planet, on this planet somewhere, that's having that kind of moment right now with somebody? There's got to be. There's got to be hundreds having a moment like that right now. How grateful are we that somebody's having that moment? You know, I'm sure during that talk that Mo gave, there were some people who felt so joined with him that they were having a moment like that. We got to be grateful to knowing there are moments like that happening everywhere. Somewhere, somebody's having that connection. And bless them, bless them, bless them. That they're giving to give all to all. You guys know I love that. I love that lesson of the Holy Spirit. Somewhere, somebody's giving all to all, and we're benefiting from it. You got to love it. You got to love it. Dove's favorite phrase is you got to laugh. Mine is you got to love it. You got to love those connections. You got to love how much this works. So the Course goes on to say, you need not know them individually or they you. We just have to know they're out there somewhere. The light is so strong that it radiates throughout the sonship and returns thanks to the Father for radiating his joy upon it. Only God's holy children are worthy channels of his beautiful joy, because only they are beautiful enough to hold it by sharing it. It is impossible for a child of God to love his neighbor except as himself. That is why the healer's prayer is, let me know this brother as I know myself. Whew. And in that moment, in that phone store, I knew my two young brothers as myself, you know? And when we join in Gather, I know my brothers and my sisters as myself. It's, you know, it's what we are. It's what we really are. And if we could all just stay in that state, how gorgeous that would be. Anybody have anything they want to say about all this stuff, or I could just go into the next section in chapter 5. Oop, I just got a message from somebody, but not from this group. So there's a prayer. Well, I'll go into the first paragraph first. Healing is a thought by which two minds perceive their oneness and become glad. Oh boy, did I become glad. This gladness calls to every part of the sonship to rejoice with them and lets God go out into them and through them. So how gorgeous was it, you know, when I was joining with those guys, and I can trust that the gladness called out to every part of the sonship to rejoice with us as we were rejoicing with each other. Only the healed mind can experience revelation with lasting effect, because revelation is an experience of pure joy. So did we have a moment of revelation? Maybe. Who knows? If you do not choose to be wholly joyous, your mind cannot have what it does not choose to be. I'm going to read that again because I think that's really important. If you do not choose to be wholly joyous, your mind cannot have what it does not choose to be. So that's my choice. You know, if I was talking about, oh, I spent Christmas by myself. What does that say? Does that mean I can be lonely or abandoned? Or, I had a little moment of doubt yesterday, and I was not choosing to be wholly joyous. When in reality, I made a really good meal for myself. I, it was mushrooms and gravy and rice and chocolates and just good stuff. And I was watching movies. I watched a couple of really cheesy Christmas movies. If I had dwelt only in the enjoyment of that rather than letting Becky tell me some thoughts that were not helpful and not joyous, I could have really been wholly joyous. But I listened to Becky for a minute, and Becky wasn't being helpful or joyous. And I, got lonely for a second. That wasn't, I was having a great time. All I had to do was think about how glad I was that I wasn't in a place where people were fighting, family stuff and arguing about politics or talking about, the disaster that the economy is in or any other 80 topics on the news right now that you could listen to that make you think you're not joyous or whole or happy. This gladness calls to every part of the sonship to rejoice with them and lets God go out into them and through them. Only the healed mind can experience revelation. Oh, lost my place. Only the healed mind can experience revelation with lasting effect, because revelation is an experience of pure joy. If you do not choose to be wholly joyous, your mind cannot have what it does not choose to be. Remember that spirit knows no difference between having and being. The higher mind thinks according to the laws spirit obeys, and therefore honors only the laws of God. To spirit, getting is meaningless and giving is all. To lessons of the Holy Spirit again, to have, give all to all. To spirit, getting is meaningless and giving is all. The Course is saying the same thing 1,000 different ways. And if you read it enough, you start making these connections, and they're beautiful. Having everything, spirit holds everything by giving it, and thus creates as the Father created. This perfectly ties back to that first lesson of the Holy Spirit. While this kind of thinking is totally alien to having things, even to the lower mind, it is quite comprehensible in connection with ideas. So if anybody ever that you talk to has a problem with the lessons of the Holy Spirit, send them back to the first paragraph after the introduction in chapter 5 and read that first paragraph, because it explains it perfectly here. If you share a physical perception, you do divide its ownership. If you share an idea, however, you do not lessen it. All of it is still yours, although all of it has been given away. clear as crystal. You can't mess this up. There's the whole explanation. If anybody's ever confused about it, there it is. You can share an idea. This is about thoughts. This book is about thoughts. It's not about possession of physical things. When I first started reading this course, I thought this was lunacy. What do you mean I can have and give at the same time? It's because it's not about stuff. If you share an idea, however, you do not lessen it. All of it is still yours, although all of it has been given away. Further, if the one to whom you give it accepts it as his, he reinforces it in your mind and thus increases it. If you can accept the concept that the world is one of ideas, the whole belief in the false association the ego makes between giving and losing is gone. There you go. It doesn't get any clearer than that. Lynn's got her hand up. Go ahead, Lynn.
Hey, Miki. Hey, everybody. So yeah, I'll put my camera on. I'm sitting here in my new robe I got for Christmas. If you
Oh,
can,
let's see.
hopefully see it. Well, my
No, I
camera
can't.
is on.
What's going on with your camera?
There. It just,
Oh, there
everything
you
is
go.
going slow. See how pretty?
Ooh.
It's beautiful.
Oh man, look at that hood. That's yummy.
Yeah, it's so soft. It's beautiful. I just wanted to remark on, the video that you sent out that you played, and I sent it also to my daughter and some other folks as well. And that's exactly what you're talking about. The idea, the thought that was in this man's mind, that he was experiencing things in a different way and seeing things from a different direction. And he was able to get up and give that talk. And then it was put out on the internet. And how many thousands of people have seen it? You saw it, you loved it, you sent it to me, you shared that with me. I shared it with my family. We showed it on here. These thoughts have not diminished anyone. All they have done is enhanced our experience. And this is and this is, even things are thoughts. Even, you gave me a diamond ring or a new car or whatever. That's still a thought. If I didn't have a thought about what a diamond ring was, or I didn't have a thought about what a car was or anything like that, it would just be a chunk of nothing. It might be pretty, it might be fun, but it's nothing unless I share the idea of what it is. So this is beautiful. I'm really enjoying your teaching right now, Mickey, and appreciate that you're here. So turn it.
Oh, Lynn, thank you. Yeah, it, it's it so fits in with everything that we're all so connected, and these things go out into the universe and bless us all so much. It's miracles everywhere. It really is. And I so love that we can all do this together, and that we are all walking each other home, and that we're holding each other's hands. We really are. And I know that we like to think of our group, you know, as special, and I see your hand, Lori. Hang on. I'm trying to form this thought and say it at the same time, but it includes everyone. We're all in this together. And even though we think that there are people who we disagree with, we really are all holding hands and we really are all walking each other home. Go ahead, Lori. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
I love that the video you sent, and I saw a video by Muji a long time ago where he talked about the same thing. He said, if you think about, oh, my brother died and it's my brother, and oh my gosh, well, if it was just another person, they died. But when you make it my brother, my story, my specialness, then you grieve. And I'm so glad that this guy, Mogadat, put this video out there, because a lot of people aren't going to listen to Muji, because Muji's a spiritual guy. We're a Course in Miracles people. We're the weirdos. We're the ones that don't know anything. And I just bought a book, I haven't gotten it yet, called Quantum Life. And it's by this Christian minister named Steve McVeigh. And he's talking about how quantum physics says the same thing Jesus said. I'm like, hey, yeah. Well, Unity Church has been saying that for over 100 years, maybe like 150 years now. Christian Science has been saying the same thing in the New Thought movement and Course in Miracles. But this Christian minister is writing this book, and I'm so happy about it, because it's like, yay, you guys are catching up, and I'm and that helps to avoid the separation. So that's all I wanted to say.
That is so right and so perfect. And it's really interesting, that physicists are now coming out with stuff. It's like science and spirituality grew apart for a really long time, and now they're coming back together again. So like spirituality and science are all of a sudden, and starting to say the same things. And it's been this full circle of, separation and coming together. And people from everywhere, this guy's a businessman, an entrepreneur, an engineer, nothing to do with spirituality. People go, he is writing books on how to be happy. And I think that's the first thing I think that led us all on this spiritual quest, is that we weren't happy and we knew it. And we wanted peace. We wanted to find joy and happiness and peace and to end suffering. And I think for a majority of us, that's what led us onto a spiritual journey. And now this guy who, was a businessman and an engineer is on this quest, and he decided to go on a more scientific search for happiness. And I think that's beautiful, because that's going to reach an audience that wouldn't be listening to Muji and wouldn't be listening to Nisargadatta or reading A Course in Miracles or, studying Ramana Maharshi. There's a huge segment of the population who would not be interested in any of that stuff. And look who it's coming through, an ex-C something officer of Google. So the beauty of that, the canceling out of limitations that's facilitating is phenomenal. Go ahead, Lori, you've got your hand up.
And there's another guy I just saw the other day on this. It's a conservative show, a Sean Ryan show podcast. Anyway, Sean Ryan was a Navy SEAL, and he has all these conservative viewpoints and everything, and a lot of military stuff. Well, he had this guy on there named Sean Webb, Webb, who has written this book called Mind Hacking Happiness. And he was with the CIA, involved in the remote viewing program. And the Monroe Institute is the leader in doing the brainwave syncing with the binary beats in the brain waves. I mean, when you wear headphones and stuff. Well, the Monroe Institute, he's not, this Sean Webb now is an ambassador for the Monroe Institute, but he's just like, he's a military guy and he's talking about psychic development. He's talking about all this stuff. And he's talking about, just like what Mogadat was talking about making yourself happy by choosing your thoughts. And so I just, I just love it because it's another thing. So it's on this conservative Republican military podcast is psychic development. So it's just fun. I'm done.
That is, oh man, my phone's blowing up here. Yeah, it's, what I just thought of when you were saying that, Lori, is it's like a happiness virus. It's like happiness is going viral now. And people who never would have thought, like, how does I don't know anything about shush. I don't know anything about remote viewing, or, I mean, I can imagine what it is. And I think I've heard of it a little bit, but the fact that I am so sorry. My phone is, I'm going to shut it up.
Sounded like fairies were waving their
Yes.
wands.
That's my what do you call it? My sound alarm for when messages come in. It's like Tinkerbell is calling to me, telling me I have a message.
That's what it sounded like.
I know, it's awesome. It's so much better than a beep. So Lori said remote viewing is clairvoyance, which is what I thought that meant. And the military is involved in that?
Oh, they were doing experiments with that for a long time, trying to help people develop their psychic abilities to be able to do a lot of stuff. They did it like in the 60s and probably 50s, who knows. But have you, by any chance, looked at Corinne Zupko's book on the Claires?
I heard a little bit about the Claires when you were playing it the other day, but I haven't seen the book yet.
It's free on. I'll put a link for it or send you a link for it. So, but that's what she's talking about, and I could see it. And she goes through how Helen, excuse me, actually experienced all of this stuff. Helen Schuckman, before she started scribing the course, and even the scribing of the course is a clairaudience. She actually was hearing through clairvoyance, basically, and so it's really interesting. Anyway, I will go ahead and let you continue. But yeah,
Well,
our
no,
government's trying to do a lot of stuff.
I find this stuff really fascinating. The fact that that I don't know if it's mainstream yet. You don't hear about it, on popular television shows. I don't watch any talk shows, so I don't hear about that. But it might start showing up on regular, AM talk shows about this stuff, which amazes me that how it's becoming so mainstream that something Lori was listening to on a very conservative podcast would be talking about, how how we can change our lives by changing our minds. And that's old hat for us, but I don't think a lot of, mainstream news outlets are talking about it, and they're certainly not broadcasting it on TV all over the place. But it's just kind of heartening to see that things are principles of the course, principles of spirituality in general, are starting to seep out into the fabric of society a little bit more. And the sonship is healing. And so that circles back to my topic for the day. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. I, in terms of I, the sonship, and I think this course is really talking to the I that is the whole sonship, the Christ that we all are, the one mind that's dreaming, that the one mind that needs to be healed, and wake up. I think that's the I, unless it's first person Jesus saying I something in the course. I think a lot of the I's are the one mind, not necessarily this personality that thinks it's so separate, is going to be healed. The one mind is going to be healed as we let the Christ mind, Holy Spirit, God, teach us to heal. So I'm just going to finish up by reading the second paragraph here that has a really beautiful prayer in it. And it says, let us start our process of reawakening with just a few simple concepts. Thoughts increase by being given away. And we've talked about that a lot today. The more who believe in them, the stronger they become. Everything is an idea. How then can giving and losing be associated? And I will end by reading that one more time because I think it's really beautiful. Thoughts increase by being given away. The more who believe in them, the stronger they become. And we've seen that by everything we've been talking about. And those beautiful examples that Lori gave of people from totally other thought systems in our society are thinking the same things. Everything is an idea. How then can giving and losing be associated? And so how then can the giving of all of this healing, how then can healing and being unhealed be associated? How can loving and not loving be associated? How can we not all share in the beautiful awakening that's going on with all of us? And so with that, I will hand this back to Lynn, who will then hand it on to Rev Wayne. And I thank you all so much for being here. And if anybody has any ideas on what we want to talk about next, I am open to suggestions. Otherwise, I will pick out another prayer or two to look at.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Miki. And yeah, I put the link for to get Corinne's book. It's free. It's a free ebook.
Oh, cool.
And really fascinating how she's gone through A Course in Miracles and the stories of Helen Schuckman from the Absence from Felicity, and really brought out where what we thought maybe was no or poo by from the Course really is kind of the Holy Spirit telling us how to see things, how to think, and how to hear. So it's really, really fascinating. But thank you so much, Miki. This has really been great. And I'm going to go ahead and stop.